Okay. So as I said, those are the players of the insurance transaction. And with that said, I'm going to now hand over to Dion Burrs, who's going to just run you through how the Profnet SpaceNet Global Group all fit into this picture. It's then going to be handed back to me, and we'll go through some claim scenarios and then the coverage that you guys can expect for 2024. So Dion, without further ado, I'm going to hand to you on that specific point.
Excellent. Thanks so much, and good afternoon to everybody. It is really good, and I think we continue to be intentional about taking pause times to say we want to welcome engagements, your questions, as we prepare for another year in the challenging landscape of private healthcare in South Africa. So very welcome to the session. Thanks to our partners. Thanks, MJ and your team, for joining us in this. And I think it's just a wonderful products that we're bringing to the healthcare market, and specifically in our sort of focal area, which is all the important people in healthcare outside of doctors, specialist doctors and GPs and dentists. So that's us. And Profnet has gone from strength to strength over the years. You can't believe, but we're already 8 years in the making. And we've continued to bring in partners that will add value to the healthcare space for generally term allied healthcare professionals. And medical malpractice insurance is one of those. So we thank you guys for coming to the table. And as we continue to refine the products and grow the products and grow the services, it's important to just pause and say, well, what's different for 2024 versus what cover our clients have got over 2023, and as we continue to respond to those needs in the market. So I think just to give you a brief overview, if you could just go to the slide before, please, MJ.
Sorry, John.
So just to frame again, Profnet has a specific focus outside of the specialist doctor space and the medical doctor space. Our sister company, SpaceNet, takes care of that sector of the market. We're also supported by DUXA, which is the Academy of Healthcare, that looks at online and in-person training. I think an entity that might be of interest to some people on the call, known Profnet's journey up until now. The Tech4 group has grown from strength to strength as well, looking specifically at clinical waste and how clinical waste is managed in an eco-friendly manner. So it's just an interesting extension of the services within the SpaceNet Global Group. But the products really to market is our EasyMed product, which many of you may be familiar with and many of you may be running your practices on. And that's paired with VeriClaim, which takes care of the specialist doctors claiming and the complexity there. And finally, we are underpinned by Evolve, which is our software development company that's in-house, that help enable and build all of these systems. Thanks, MJ. Just some of the key clients I thought that would be worth sharing just in this forum that are appropriate for this forum. They include, amongst many others, the Health Professions Council. We still continue to provide services to the HPCSA, specifically to board members, as they navigate the systems that Health Professions Council, attend meetings, do their claiming, and so on. We manage those processes for them. The Biokinetic Association, the South African Society of Physiotherapy, and the Chiropractic Association are long-standing clients of ours. We've done some great work with InStop in the occupational therapy space and continue to provide services in the orthotic and prosthetic space as well. So there's some of the key healthcare practitioners that we support, not directly only, but also through their societies and associations. We've done some great work with FNB, where we responded on a tender and really provided an incredible system, which manages in excess of 1.5 active members, 1.5 million active members, at a total base of 3 million members that we manage through one of our systems. And then finally, some interesting stuff in the life healthcare space, going to the hospital space, assisting life healthcare in managing all the healthcare practitioners. The key focus was really on doctors, but they're moving that into nursing and into allied healthcare professionals in life healthcare facilities. Thanks, MJ.
For sure.
I think, yeah. So yeah, I think it's just handing back to MJ and his team. Just really, this is the opportunity to say, what does 2024 look like? What can you do to prepare yourself? And then any questions you might have on the complex environment that we have, which is medical malpractice insurance. So thank you very much. And yeah, I think through our partnership with Genoa, Shackleton, and Sapphire, we've managed to navigate these challenges that we've seen. There was a huge challenge the industry faced as far as collection of premiums in the insurance space. Societies and associations were traditionally doing it themselves, and regulation changed where you couldn't bundle that into membership fees. And I'm sure many of you have felt the changes that have been forced down as a result of that regulation. But together with our team and with Genoa, we managed to navigate what's the easiest, most slickest way to do that. And the societies that have embraced technology, membership management systems, and so on, have managed to navigate that quite successfully. We realized the great pressure on allied healthcare professionals when it comes to forensic audits and the support to that process, and so that was added into the program, into the policy cover, some 3 years ago, if I remember right, MJ.
Yep. We were first to market to bring that in, Dion. And that I think is testament to the fact that we listen to the insureds and what they're needing in the market.
Yeah, and I think that's been a great product that we brought to the table. So thank you to you and your team, and just the great teams that you've brought from a legal perspective as well. And then obviously looking at competitive premiums and comprehensive cover, assisting clients. We have many of our clients phone us directly. The first thing they call is when there's an issue in a practice or somebody's complaining or threatening to sue them, they'll phone us. And we know that we can't give that advice, but we certainly do handhold and channel them to the right people, being yourselves, in managing those difficult times. And then just continue refinement of products, and responding to industry needs. So again, I just reach out and employ all ProfNet members, everyone in the healthcare space, is to come to us with any concerns, challenges you might have. One of the more recent ones we're currently dealing with, so watch the space, is in the telehealth space. We all know that you can have hybrid care, in clinic and telehealth support. What happens if you go more towards the telehealth side? What does that look like? And how should we be responding to that when it comes to policy wording and premium? So raise those questions, raise those concerns, and let's keep working with you to grow the product even greater than it currently is. So thanks. That's all from my side, MJ.
Thanks, Dion. So I'll take back the reins, guys and ladies and gents. I just want to chat around some of the things that we've done for ProfNet members, in addition to some of the points that Dion has already mentioned. So, as you guys will be very aware, we give you access to a CPD virtual talk, a panel of talks that are offered by a number of experts in various professions. We've got a host of educational documentation that's supplied on the ProfNet portal, and this includes things like access to Genoa's minimum health record keeping. So basically, what you guys need to store. Access to Genoa's informed consent templates. This is an incredibly popular template, and I smile when I say this because we provided it free into the market, and now we actually see, for example, just as a side story, I've just had my knee done, and my orthopedic surgeon, who is not insured with us, in fact, is utilizing our informed consent template. So I say that because the information in the documentation that we're providing to market is really, really of a good quality and high caliber. So despite the fact that it's being used elsewhere, I know that the Genoa brand and the Shackleton brand and the ProfNet brand are getting really, really good traction through documents like this. For those of you who want to get both your ethics or your clinical CPD points, all you have to do is access our online CPD portal, and you can acquire all of the CPD points that you need for the year. I think we've got about 35 or 36 accredited CPD talks, accredited by VITS or SAUMA, and various other accreditation bodies. We then give you access to an easy online claim notification and tracking portal. The ProfNet members, I think, don't utilize that as much as some of our other insureds, and the reason for that is just simply because of the stellar service that ProfNet already offers to you guys through their online platforms. And then, of course, the names at the bottom of the page, which are very, very important. These are the guys that are going to be representing you in the event that you have a claim. These are law firms in Sandton and KwaZulu-Natal and all around Pretoria, who are incredibly well known, and they are well known because of the expertise that exists within those buildings. We have negotiated very, very competitive rates from these attorneys to ensure that we get the best bang for your buck, for the premium that you guys pay. But stand fast in the knowledge that that these are the guys that are going to be representing you in the event that you do have a claim in the future. So I think with that said, it's probably a good point for me now just to hand the reins over to Inge Sieberhagen, who, as I mentioned to you, is the head of internal legal at Genoa. And Inge's going to run you through some claim events that we've seen, which should start to reinforce why this coverage is so necessary and why you should tell your friends and your family members that they should honestly look to it, because should someone choose not to have the cover and something like this happens, the effects to your practice could be devastating. So with that said, Inge, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, MJ. Before I jump into the claims, I just want to briefly say that, when you get a claim notification, don't panic. I want to reassure you that literally you have experts. Either you can have a call with me, I am an admitted attorney as well, or I'll put you through to one of our panel attorneys or a medical legal expert that can talk you through and assist you with whatever query you have. And, from my side, I've assisted many insureds with that, and these claims examples that I will now run through briefly would be testament to scenarios that we've successfully handled and managed to diffuse and had very happy clients. So the first one was for a HPCSI complaint and a letter of demand. This is an example where you could get a letter of demand and a HPCSI complaint. Like, the one does not have to wait for the other. It can happen at the same time. In this example, the patient was referred to the insured for a prosthesis above the knee. The insured manufactured the prosthesis, however, the fit was not good. And despite adjustments, the patient decided to go to another prosthesis for manufacturing of a socket without engaging with the insured on possibly rectifying the initial socket or redo thereof, and this obviously escalated into a breakdown of the relationship. And unfortunately, we had to resolve to sending letters and engaging with the patient through their attorneys. This matter I've recently submitted to the HPCSA, but I'm sure a favorable response will come out. Another one is forensic audits. Now, I've seen a couple actually in the last month or two. It's happening quite regularly. And, I've successfully assisted the insureds. You receive a letter from your medical aid and you're shocked because the format of the letter is really, you feel like you're being accused of fraud in the end of the day. So the important thing is to remain calm and inform us of the request and start compiling the information. It will be in an Excel spreadsheet. They will list what information they want, and we assist you with compiling the response and or getting an external accountant and or attorney to assist, depending on the size of the request for information. Sometimes it can date back years. The recent one we had was an outcome was favorable, and the reason and refund of a portion of the funds. So the practitioner did note that there was an error, and this happens. I mean, we are human. You work with other people that assist you in your accounting. And so it's better to be upfront, but the way in which you structure it is very important. So I highly recommend to please tell us, and then we assist you with how we convey this information to the medical aid. Requests for records, we get this often. I mean, that's the first step that one would get. The patient in this example was unhappy with the treatment and sent a formal request for report on the treatment and a request for records. The insured informed us, and we advised them to only send the records that contain details of what treatment was provided. So often they'll ask you for a report or to give your opinion. I advise not doing that. Right. Fourth one was also HPCSI complaint. It was alleged lack of comprehensive and thorough examination. This is an interesting matter. So the insured notified us of a claim after receiving a HPCSI complaint. Our insured, a qualified podiatrist, saw the patient in February 2023 when she presented with excruciatingly sore feet. So our insured was unable to fully examine the patient's feet due to the swelling and the pain that was experienced. And so the patient left and later complained, basically saying that this person didn't want to touch their feet, they want to examine it, and there was even allegations of racism in there. Our insured recommended a treatment plan consisting of resting whenever feasible, applying ice to painful areas, elevating your feet when possible, and taking over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medication, and also wearing specifically described soft and comfortable shoes. Our insured requested that the patient returns once her pain levels were more manageable, allowing for a comprehensive and thorough physical examination. The patient obviously didn't come back. She later complained. The HPCSA actually found in favor of our insured, and he acted appropriately. So it was a positive result. Claim 5, notification of a potential claim, threat of complication. We get this a lot. So more often than not, people threaten claims, but it might not go anywhere. So the insured took the patient to theatre to manage an ingrown toenail, and a piece of an instrument actually broke off in the toe. The patient was sent for x-rays, which confirmed it had broken off. Patient was readmitted, it was corrected and removed the instrument. It was a positive outcome. Nothing has further come of this claim, but it's an example that, you know, something might look serious and in the end of the day, nothing might come of it. And then the last one, claim 6, breach of privacy. This is happening a lot. People are a lot more sensitive in this time post-COVID. So the patient refused to pay the outstanding account and ignored all communication in this regard. The insured proceeded to contact the next of kin for the outstanding account. And the patient was actually upset that they'd contacted the family, although they'd given this information and consented thereto. So these are just a couple of claims examples. I see a lot of interesting things every day. And all I can say is just don't panic. You can phone me on my cell phone, send an email, and contact your broker. Most importantly, they will be able to guide you as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, here, and Inga will talk through this, but, or maybe Inga, if you're happy, I'll take this slide. So when you have a claim, the first port of call, as Inga's just said, is always contact your broker. So right up at the top of the page, you'll see that Tennille Kent, who's a lady who works for Richard Lynn, who will be speaking to us shortly, she is always the first port of call for this Profnet scheme. Tennille can be reached on the 011-784-5373 number, or alternatively on medmail@srisk.co.za. In the event that something is now business critical and you guys need an answer, perhaps urgently or outside of office hours, or perhaps if Tennille isn't able to answer it herself, you are most welcome then to call through to the Genoa Medico Legal Helpline, which is available 24/7. You can phone it at 3 o'clock in the morning, should you wish, and you're going to route through. You're going to get an actual human who's going to answer the phone through one of our partners, Global Choices, and you will then be directed to the necessary person. Alternatively, during normal hours, or even what I would call not normal hours, because Inga and Larice, who two of the ladies in our claims team, they hardly ever seem to sleep, they can be reached on the details that are on the screen. So, I mean, your 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening, I'm sure you'd probably be able to get them. But if not, you would route through to the 010 number, and then you'd go through to the 24/7 Medico Legal Helpline. Some common reasons that Inga sort of just popped down for us for why you would want to contact the claims team. An unhappy patient who's given you reason to think that things may progress after the session that you had with him or her. An HPCSA inquiry. That is always one that starts to get your blood going cold. A request for records or clinical notes. Our experience shows that the vast majority of times that happens is because of the fact that something is progressing further and someone is relatively unhappy with an outcome that they may have experienced. You may need assistance, for example, with your informed consent. So we help a lot of our insureds with the creation of the informed consent templates. That is a very, very important risk mitigator, which is why it's a tool that we offer through to you guys and as an additional service. And then obviously, if you're aware that something went wrong and you need to know how to proceed, in other words, Sherbet, I've picked up that XYZ happened during this consultation. The patient may or may not be aware of it at this stage. What do I do? Am I obligated to go and tell the patient? You know, those kind of questions. And anything that that fills in between everything that I'm talking about here. The claims team is literally the shop window for Genoa. We encourage you to utilize our claims department, and we've spent a lot of money in getting it correct to ensure that our broker partners, being Shackleton Risk Management, and our insured clients, being those of you ladies and gents on the call, are well looked after, and feel safe in the knowledge that that when you have a claim, you're going to be in good hands. So with that said, I'm now going to hand over to Pravashni Pillai. Pravashni is, as I mentioned at the start of the call, she is our senior medical malpractice underwriter, and she has been instrumental in working with Profnet and the SpaceNet Group to put together the 2024 coverage that you guys will be experiencing. So, Pravash, over to you.
Thanks, MJ. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to start off by just stating Genoa is the underwriter of the product, so we are not able to give you advice. However, we will guide you as best as we can, and all advice must please be directed via your broker, Shackleton Risk Management. So that would then be your contact person, Tennille Kent. And sometimes I do know that it goes via Profnet, and Profnet will then redirect it via Tennille, and it then comes through to us, just so we on that same page. However, if you do have any questions or anything today, we will definitely answer it to you or for you. So in terms of the coverage, we didn't, you would have remembered last year, we did enhance our policy quite, our coverage quite a bit in terms of lifting our limits, allowing for the forensic audit to be included free of charge rather than a payable extension, which is now on the second page, not on this page that we're looking at. So not yet, MJ. That is why you will see everything just shows a tick, 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 or that there's no change, is because we wanted to keep the premiums as low as possible. So we just were able to negotiate the standard inflationary increases. Because we did not adjust the cover, the premiums are as keen as we could possibly get them, but the cover is still as wide as you have previously enjoyed. So there's nothing that you, unless you have concerns on the previous cover, there's nothing that you need to be concerned about in terms of coverage from previous years to now. Next slide, please, MJ. So you will see we one of the nice things about our scheme policy is all the additional extensions that it does allow cover for. I know Inga mentioned a few forensic audit matters, which all fall under the extension of the forensic audit. If we didn't have that extension, there wouldn't be cover for such. So in terms of the policy, you will see that 2023 and 2024, there is no change in terms of our limits that were offered on the previous policy to the renewal policy. Everything actually does remain as is. If there is any coverage that you as a member possibly think could be beneficial to your scheme, please, by all means, do share it with us, and we will do some investigations to see whether it's an enhancement we are able to do across our scheme policy.
Absolutely. So Pravashni, thanks for raising that one as you were ending, because I actually want to speak to that. So at the beginning of the call, and I see more people have been jumping on, so apologies for those of you who've already heard what I was about to say, but Genoa and Shackleton Risk Management and Profnet are three companies that listen to our insureds. There was a large push and a large voice coming back from the insured market, which was saying, guys, I need help with forensic audit coverage. I need help with forensic audit coverage. So between Dion, Richard, myself, Pravashni, Inga, and different players within our organizations, we put our heads together. We brought you guys the first forensic audit solution in South Africa. Subsequently, some of our partners are trying to, or some of our competitors, not our partners, are trying to bring that extension in as well. But it's testament to the fact that we listen and we want to bring these coverages to assist. So that's why what Pravashni is saying is not just hearsay or something to be disregarded, as and when you feel that there's a coverage that would benefit the members. Engage with your brokers, Shackleton Risk Management, and who will then bring it through to us, and we'll see how we can enhance that coverage. So I see Inga's already responded. Before I hand to Richard Lynn, so Megan Maddox has asked a question in the chat box. So let me just address that one, and then I'm going to hand to Richard, who's going to give you guys that peace of mind of why Shackleton Risk Management is the preferred partner for your MPI coverage. But Megan's question was, what is the process for us to get your assistance on our informed consent? And Megan, I see you then went onto our portal and you found some of our templates. So absolutely, the first port of call is to go onto the Genoa portal, where you will find informed consent templates that are in existence. But also, you'll see that that you can email to neil@srisk.co.za or medmail@srisk.co.za, and they would be able to help you. Alternatively, if you've got specific questions around your informed consent templates, you're most welcome to fire those through, and we'll address those as well to help you put together sort of a bespoke informed consent template that suits your practice. So on that note, I'm going to now hand to Richard Lynn. Richard Lynn, as I mentioned, is the Managing Director of the Shackleton Group of Companies. Shackleton Risk Management, as I stated, is the broker behind it. But Rich, if you're there, I'm going to hand over to you to talk through the different companies that make up the Shackleton Group.
Thanks, MJ. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. So, yeah, thanks to MJ for the introduction. My name is Richard Lynn. I'm the MD of Shackleton Risk and an Executive Director across the group. The Shackleton Group is a group of financial services-based businesses. It was founded in 2002. Our group companies and their logos are on the slide. Shackleton Group, I think there are individual slides per company, so maybe we can just fast forward to the next one so I don't repeat myself, if we can move slides. Okay, so Shackleton Credit is our oldest business. It was founded in 2002. Our staff count is actually up to 300 now, and this is actually a business that effectively provides liquidity to the banking sector. The banking sector have to write off non-performing loans, loans that have delinquencies in them, and even to a large extent performance in them too. We act as a sort of bank to them, where we pay them on day one for those accounts, take it off their balance sheet, provide liquidity to them, and then they then use those funds to re-lend out the capital. It's quite niche, but there's only a few companies doing it, and it does very well. Yeah, we employ about 300 people. We sort of buy from only sort of blue chip companies such as Bank, ABSA, Westbank, Capitec, and so on. And we are supported by leading commercial banks to fund it. If you can go to the next slide, MJ. Shackleton Risk. So Shackleton Risk has two elements to it. It is, to start with, a non-life insurance brokerage. It was founded in 2005. I don't think it's on the slide. It was founded in 2005. The one part in it is the part that all of you are familiar with, which is a liability insurance broker. So finding solutions to professional risks for healthcare practitioners, legal practitioners, accountants, things like that. We are independent, so we deal with most of the leading liability insurers, of which Genoa is one of them. We've got 80 full-time staff and offices across the country. And in the other part of the business is a business that provides bonds of security to liquidations, deceased estates, and trusts of medical negligence and road accident fund payouts, where we actually offer a bond of security where we effectively sign security slip on behalf of the person who's in control of those assets. You can go next slide for me, MJ. And then Shackleton Life is probably our newest company. Got about 100 staff, and this is a life insurance business underwritten by Old Mutual. It operates from one location, and at our last board meeting, we've got 32,000 lives that we insure, ranging from mortgage life policies to policies to cover cancer. We also offer wills and things like that. So that's what that business does. Is there another slide, MJ? No.
No.
Okay. So yeah, just my last comment, man. I know MJ did speak to it earlier, but Danielle, who is the primary source, a person to contact, or who will be fielding your inquiries. She's extremely competent and also extremely quick. So I'm sure some of you have gotten in contact with us before, but you almost always receive a response from her within 12 to 18 hours. 24 hours would probably be slow. And if there are any complaints about the service, I would love the feedback. I'd be surprised if there are. But otherwise, I hope everybody's happy, and thank you for your support.
So Rich, thanks very much for the chat. On the screen now, the last screen, you can see Genoa's LinkedIn handles and our YouTube handles. In the event that you want to know about different things that we're doing in the industry from a medical malpractice perspective, please follow either of those companies. So you'll follow on LinkedIn, or you'll search on YouTube the handles that are there, and we can it's just another way that we engage with you guys. So with that said, I'm now going to hand to the floor. I'm going to also change the security settings to allow you to unmute yourselves. And so if anyone has any questions, then please do go ahead and raise those with us now. For those of you who don't want to speak, if you're a little bit shy, please feel free to put the questions into the meeting chat box. As you would have seen as well, we have recorded this session, and I know that Profnet is going to be making sure that it's available on their various channels in case you've got any queries or questions or comments or can't remember something that was said. So with that said, I'm going to hand to you guys. Any questions for us? Hey, Dion, we've got an easy afternoon ahead of us, and no one seems to want to ask anything.
You haven't given me a chance yet, eh?
There we go. Fire them away, Captain. I'm ready.
Oh, cool. So you just mentioned something in passing that if there's a forensic review of sorts and you need to get an accountant in to actually help bolster the response, what is the process? What is the role that you guys play in that? Do you actually cover the cost of the accountant? Do you direct us to find a good accountant? How does that whole thing play out?
Dion, good question. So we have got an internal panel that comprises about 4 different people to make up the forensic audit team. One is a medico-legal advisor, one is an accountant, one is an ICD-10 coding specialist, and one is a legal practitioner. Between those 4, we offer a limit, and Pravashni, just correct me if I'm wrong, is it 50,000 or 25,000?
Oh, I was muted. 25.
Okay. We offer a limit of 25,000 based on the services that we've negotiated, or the fee structures that we've negotiated between those 4 people, Dion, and based on all of the forensic audits that we've had to handle so far to date. That 25,000 is more than ample to allow us to assist you to prepare a response back to the medical aids, to ensure that your rights remain fully protected.
Awesome. And tell me, how's the tide around these forensic reviews? I think you obviously hear from the market, these things are getting, it used to be one specific administrator, and it sounds like more and more are getting involved. On the balance of things and your engagements, do you find that the tide is turning, or do you feel that there's still a lot of pressure coming through to healthcare practitioners on this?
I'll also hand this question to Inga, but my feeling is that the medical aids are looking closer and closer at how the practitioners are performing, and they're looking very, very closely into big data to try and find these billing irregularities. They also, in my off-the-record opinion, which is now being recorded, are almost looking for fault wherever possible. And that's why you need these levels of coverage, so that you actually have the balance sheet behind you with the expertise to be able to defend your interests. Because most certainly these forensic audits are becoming more and more common, and more intense. It's a very stressful process for these practitioners to have to go through when it does come up.
Yeah,
for sure.
to add, MJ covered it quite nicely there, but just a few that I've done recently, they do go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And I think also just to have some reassurance that you have someone looking at what you're submitting as well, because often, you know, it's upsetting when you receive that letter, because like I said, it's a standard template. Most of them sound similar, but for you going about your day, get this email, and it basically, you feel like they're telling you you're committing fraud, when in fact what you're doing is fine, completely fine. So yeah, just to assist you with submission of that.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Inga.
I mean,
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, we obviously want to learn from other people's mistakes rather than our own. What things could you share that our clients should be looking out for, being sure that they do correctly to keep themselves on the right side of a forensic review? That was my first question. And the second one is, how long are these processes typically? So from the time you get the call to it being resolved, is it quite a treacherous journey?
So,
all right. Okay.
You want to take that, Inga, in terms of the length, and then I'll take the other question.
Yes, so the length, they generally, the letters are, it's 14 days. They tell you to submit within 14 days of getting the request. So you can ask for an extension, but it's generally a short period of time for you to compile your information. And it's generally doable if you have the records in your diaries and your systems in place. But if needed, we can ask for an extension, but it's quick. I've submitted 2 weeks ago, came back within 2 weeks as well. Then they give feedback and they engage with you on it. Yeah.
So you could wrap it up within a month of your first notification.
Yeah, it really depends on the size of the request, but if it can be done quite quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, the more simple ones could be. Dion, I suppose the answer to your question would be that the practitioners on this call are operating in a very, very complex environment. I mean,
Right.
I think when ICD-10 coding and the rest was all put together, the coding, understanding the coding literally takes an encyclopedia. So my simple view of the mitigation of risk here would be that I would encourage partners or insureds to reach out to partners who can assist them to make that billing process that much easier. Also, those same partners will be able to, if you're unfamiliar with a specific code, you can reach out to the partner who's then going to be able to guide you in terms of what that should look like, so that your billing is not questionable in any way. Because often what we see as well is there are obviously occasions where there's a practitioner who'll be doing funny things with their billing, and that will be picked up quite quickly as and when the audit is happening. But then there are often practitioners who simply don't understand the billing to the nature that they need to, and they're utilizing incorrect codes. Now, that's where a partner could assist the practitioners in ensuring that they're utilizing the correct codes at all times. So, not sure if that answers what you were getting at, but that would sort of be my gut feel in terms of my answer for you there.
Yeah, thanks for that, MJ. I think one of my pastimes is every 6 months or so going on the Health Professions Council's website and going to their findings. They actually do rulings there, so they'll actually publish all the complaints received, what the responses have been, what the fines have been, and it's a really good way to kind of sharpen yourself and your own internal processes, often around administration, consent, billing, and so on. So it's a good way to learn from others. So I think it's very valuable. If anybody has questions and wants to verbalize this out, please put your hand up under the reaction.
There was another one from Megan.
About public
Megan's
liability.
firing the questions at us here, which Megan, thank you. Please keep them coming. I'm going to hand that one to Pravashni Pillai because she'll know the limits that we offer. So Pravash, over to you.
If you can just go through to that. Oh no, you're not sharing screen. If you just go to that previous slide, sorry, MJ. I
Sorry,
need to
yeah,
open the
I'll
doc.
go there now. I just don't know how to.
Just go up. So there, it's there. Second page, next one down. There it tells you public liability is for the full limit. So the limit that you choose. So if you have a 2.5, 5, or 10 million rand limit, the public liability limit will match. However, it must be understood that it is an aggregated limit, and all your extensions are sub-limits of the main limit. So in other words, if you have 2.5 million rand, 2.5 million is all you have for all your coverage across the policy, whether it's for a brief of, if you have to tally all of them and you have a breach of confidentiality claim, a public liability claim, and a PI claim, the maximum we will pay out for the year is 2.5 million rand.
For sure. So, Megan, as you'll know, the public liability is your traditional slip and trip, slip and fall coverage. A lot of the short-term insurance policies, much like your commercial policy where you're insuring the assets of your practice rooms, that also offers public liability. But yes, there is an extension over here to incorporate it in the event that you felt that the minimum limit that we offer through for the schemes, which is 2.5 million, is not sufficient. Then we would encourage you to start thinking of moving to a 5 or a 10 million rand limit so that you can adequately address those concerns. Any other questions for us?
Before considering that, just check, as MJ said, about your standard office policy, because 90% of the time you actually have the coverage there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's often an overlap between those two policies, but if you don't have it under your commercial policy, be safe in the knowledge that you do have it under your medical malpractice policy. Any other questions for us?
I have seen another one there from Deepika, and she's just asking around cover for group practices. How does that?
Where did you see that, Dion? Geez, I missed it.
Yeah. Oh, she actually asked me directly. That's why I'm seeing it in you now.
So sorry, what's the question, Dion?
Group practice cover.
Yeah, cover for group practices. So I guess there's two parts to that question. The one is same discipline group practices. How do we make sure that everyone's covered there? And then multidisciplinary group practices.
This is where I'm very fortunate at this time of the afternoon to be able to say that I'm joined by Pravashni Pillay, the senior medical malpractice underwriter. So, Pravashni, over to you.
So essentially, the individual cover for the individuals would be they take out the policy under the Profnet scheme for them as an individual. The group practice policy, to cover them from a practice perspective, they must please contact Neil. We've already placed a good few for Profnet members. We are definitely able to assist with either or, whether they are different disciplines or same disciplines. Contact Neil, and Neil will help you with all of it.
Yeah, but absolutely, as it's been correctly pointed out here, when it comes to an institutional policy, in other words, when you've got a number of different practitioners operating in the same practice, most certainly we can give you what's called an institutional coverage.
So that's exactly, yes.
For sure.
The group practice. So all the individuals would most likely have the Profnet membership MPI in place. So that is fine. We are looking to cover them from a higher level, from a practice perspective, where their matters are instituted in the name of the practice rather than the individual. And then the individual will be tied. So both policies would essentially need to respond if necessary. But we are the underwriter on both. So either way, we will help.
Perfect. Dion, have you got any other sneaky questions that have been sent through to you directly?
No, the sneaky ones there. And I'm not going to, I think my questions have been answered. Right, I think amazing. Maybe just a couple of things that maybe MJ just while I'm on is, and forgive me, you can correct me wrong, but I think one of the most critical things is that if anybody has a suspicion that there might be a claim against them, And maybe you could unpack what that means. You know, when should I be suspicious? Is it just when a patient walks out angry, or whether they threaten with legal action? When is that? The most important thing is you report that as soon as you possibly can. So perhaps you could just unpack that part, because we wouldn't want to put ourselves in a disadvantage by sitting on it, not knowing it should have been reported.
Absolutely, Dion. So, I mean, the rule of thumb here is the policy is a claims-made based policy, meaning that it triggers at the point in time that the claim is lodged against you. So, if I were a practitioner, knowing what I know in insurance, I would always be overly cautious to notify when something in your gut feels iffy. So, if you receive some of them are very clear cut. You get an HPCSA letter. Absolutely notify us. You get a request for records, absolutely notify us. You get a summons or a particular claim, a letter of demand, absolutely notify us. You know, all of those elements are cut and dry. If there are chiropractors on the table on this call with us this afternoon, and when you're doing manipulation, you know something went wrong, I would always err on the side of caution and advise the insurer, guys, patient was on the bed today. I did a manipulation and there was a very peculiar noise. The patient walked out with his neck or her neck 90 degrees to the right. Obviously, you guys as practitioners and as experts in your respective fields may very well know far before the patient knows that something's gone wrong. And in those circumstances, notify. Inga, I don't know if you want to add anything further to that.
Yeah, I can just share some examples of things people notified that they thought was nothing, and it was just logged as a notification, and we gave some reassurance. So, like MJ said, something happened during the session. The patient walked out a little bit with a limp, maybe, or they were uncomfortable. They didn't maybe say something, but the one was just feeling very sick. We registered it, we help you. And if it doesn't go anywhere, it's literally, it doesn't count against you. So rather notify it, tell us about it, and rather safe than sorry.
Cool. Dion, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Inga. I think you spoke to that point now. So I might be scared to raise something that is actually not an issue in the longer term. But if I start making a habit of this and I'm making 5 calls, 10 calls, none of which come to fruition, would it discredit me in any way? Would it impact my premiums? Would it impact on my reassurability and so on?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't go anywhere, then no, it doesn't. I mean, it's just a notification. Nothing comes of it. Often there's an unhappy client and this person they're just huffing and puffing, and then it just goes away because now the headache is gone after 2 days. It's fine. So I guess if there's one place where you can cry wolf, it's with us.
Yeah, so rather over notify.
Yeah, because remember, Dion, just speaking to that point particularly, is in the event, whilst we would look at the frequency of notifications, it's very, very clear from particularly in this environment where the claims are sometimes of a complex nature, but maybe not as complex as when someone's performing open heart surgery. But and I say that incredibly respectfully to the members on this team, because there are orthotists and things on here where we've seen very complex claims, and we've seen complex claims from chiropractors and physios, but even audiologists. But the claim ratio is always going to dictate whether it was just a vexatious claim. In other words, someone didn't like the way that you looked at them in the practice rooms that day, so they lodge a complaint and then you notify us of it. But nothing comes of it because it was a vexatious claim. So therefore, there are no claim costs associated with it, meaning that your loss ratio remains clean, meaning that you're not prejudiced by that claim. So that, I think, needs to be balanced as well. And that is often the case in terms of what we are seeing, for sure. Ilza Smith has raised a query of what are examples of claims or issues raised regarding psychologists? And we have had a lot of them. So I'm sure that Inga can speak to one or two, particularly around the ones where there've been divorces and things like that. So Inga, maybe over to you.
Yes, so, Ilse, yes, so I would say most common to claim scenarios that I would get would be where there is a minor involved with divorced parents. And these claims can range from the one parent doesn't want to give informed consent, or they're questioning that there was informed consent. They withdraw it at some stage. And these matters are actually very complex in the sense that often they try and drag you into whatever court proceedings is going on regarding the custody. And if you didn't start out in that environment, being in the judicial environment, like assisting with, I don't know, a medical legal assessment of the child, then please notify us of anything related thereto, because then I protect you from getting embroiled in these long, drawn out disputes of complaints where you're actually just there to assist the child emotionally. So that's a very big thing. I'm
Inga,
trying to
maybe,
think about,
sorry,
yeah.
I can remember a few off the top of my head, so maybe
Okay,
just,
please do.
sorry. So, Elise, another one that we saw was, or the common queries like this. So the psychologist is seeing a child, and that child makes allegations that one of the parents or one of the family members has been inappropriately touching that child. So there's molestation involved, or some form of a criminal act, a rape or something like that has occurred. A number of your colleagues in the industry don't know what they must do in those instances, which is obviously where our internal legal will then assist. We had another practitioner who crossed a large number of the practice lines. So she developed a relationship with her patient, a private relationship outside of the clinical one, and eventually that patient ended up moving into their house, and there were codependency issues, and there've been a number of breaches in terms of professional conduct along that way. So that was an example of where we have now assisted as much as we could with regards to the fallout that inevitably happened when the clinical relationship was terminated because of a breakdown in the personal relationship. So it's things like this that we see almost on a weekly basis coming out of the psychology space. Incredibly interesting for me. I find them more interesting than the surgery claims. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Anyone else? No. Then I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Dion and his team, to thank Richard and his team, and then most importantly from my side, to thank my team for the very valuable work that they do to assist you guys in the provision of the MPI. And Megan, absolute pleasure for the updates and the reminders. Thank you for your questions. So have a great afternoon, everyone. Please have a fantastic one and reach out to us on the details provided on the screen. Alternatively, on this last slide that I will share with you, I'll leave it on for one more last minute. There are Richard's details as well as my details, just in case you would like to reach out to either of us. And thank you. Have a great afternoon. I'll be terminating the call now.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks, MJ.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.